Life is unpredictable. We all know this. And there are times where that can be pretty difficult. And when we go through difficult times, us humans, our mindset changes and we become hypersensitive to certain things. We're at that vulnerable place because you're going through a difficult time. And sometimes we can make a difficult situation worse by associating with certain people during that difficult time. It can make the problem last longer. It can make the feelings feel worse. It can make the situation appear worse than what it is. It will make you more confused than you already are by simply avoiding these types of people. And when we're going through hard times, we sometimes encounter people who will kick us when we're down and out. Now, if you know somebody like this, stay away from them. At least until you get out of the storm, because these people will only make your bad situation worse. Let me give you a case in point. Maybe some of you can relate. Let's say you're in a situation where you're in school, okay, and you're worrying about trying to get enough money to get you through the next year. You're under a lot of stress. You're trying to get aid, and you're writing papers and competing in contests to try to get scholarships and grants and things like that. May have to even take out a loan. It's a stressful situation for you because it's getting close to the end of the school year. You only have a few months before the next school year starts, and you don't have every single dime that you need. Now, you reach out to some of your family members. And we all have those people in the family where they got something negative to say. No matter what you do or what you say, all they think about is just interjecting their negative energy for whatever reason. Or they're overly critical about everything. When you're going through a stressful situation, you don't need to call that critical person. You don't need to call that person that always has something smart to say. You don't need to contact that person who is woe is me, because you are already going through your woe is me. And turn around and you're going to cry on the shoulder of somebody else where all they sit there is play the victim. They're not helping you. You're in a position right now where you need some help. And even if it's just an encouraging word, if nobody can contribute to your cause, at least give some resources or a positive word or something, or just, offer prayers and meditations, or throw some positive energy their way. Something to encourage you when you're down and out, because that's what people who really love each other do. And then you also have that person that every time you run into trouble, the first thing they do is talk about the one mistake you made in your past. And it could be like 5, 10, 15 years ago they do that. It's like they're looking for an opportunity for you to go through something so they can attack you about something that they obviously have not gotten over. The rest of the world has forgiven you. Your creator has forgiven you. But this one person's still walking around with this monkey on their back about it. They don't mean shit because you've moved on. But the number one mistake that people don't need to make is when you are down and out. I understand you're trying to glean from as many sources as you can to get whatever you need to get. But there's some people you don't need to call. I've been in situations in my life where, I try to avoid dealing with those people. I put them at the very bottom of the list. If it's a situation where I have a housing situation or a transportation situation that needs to be taken care of and I got an immediate deadline, I will put them at the very bottom of the list as a last resort, and I will contact anything and everybody else first. Because all I know is that instead of them just giving me what they wanted to give me, or not giving me what they needed to give me and keeping it moving, they're going to turn it into this other thing. And by the time I hang up the phone, by the time I disconnect from Zoom, by the time I end the communication, I feel 10 times worse than I did before I got on the phone with these people. And that doesn't help you when you are in a desperate situation. You need to have as much logical thinking and clarity as possible when you're in a desperate situation. You don't need anybody to put more mud in the water. And some of y'all are doing this right now. And sometimes you don't even wind up calling this person. It's like they feel that energy and they just feel all of a sudden out of the blue that person calls. Let me tell you something. If you're going through some shit and this negative Nancy, this critical Carl, this past life Patty wants to contact you and you see that number on the phone, if it's still in your phone, don't answer it. Don't answer the phone. Don't say anything. I had to learn this. Don't say anything until this whole situation is done and over with, because there are other sources that will gladly help you out there. It's just that you are in a state of desperation and confusion right now. But there are sources that will help you in your crunch time and won't give you a hard time. Because you need to have your mind as clear as possible right now. You need to keep your energy up so you can address this thing. It's temporary anyway. But there are some things that require immediate deadlines no matter what. And if you don't meet those deadlines, you're going to miss out on that opportunity. So it's crunch time for you. And the last thing you need is to deal with these types of people. But sometimes when we get all in our emotions, we want to release our frustrations. Pick and choose who you release your frustrations to. Because before you release your frustrations and you seek out a listening ear, you make sure you watch the ears that you release to, because first of all, they might use that information against you. And second of all, they might turn around and make you feel worse than you did before you picked up the phone. And you don't want that. These people do not love you. They do not have your best interests at heart. They don't. And you need as much love and understanding and compassion when you're going through that situation. So the best thing that I would say do is, if it's crunch time, let's say you got an eviction in a couple of days. Let's say they're going to repossess the car. Let's say that you do have to get money for school that's going to start in a few weeks, or something that has to be done right away. When you create that list of contacts that you need to go through to try to get some help to scrape up those pennies, or get to sources that you need so you can get those pennies, avoid putting these people on the list at all. And if you have to put them on the list, make them the last person on the list. But I would say don't even put them on the list at all. Exhaust as many resources as you can. Because what's going to happen is, like I said, is if you feel worse than you did before, that might sink you into such a state of depression that you're willing to even just give up. And see, they've gone on with their life. They're living their life fine. This is a time where you got to look out for yourself. So if you must share it with that person, don't do it until after you've reached the hurdle. They contact you 2-3 months later and you've already gotten what you've gotten. They ask you what's going on. Be like, oh, well, you know what? I was going through a situation a while back, but you know what? My Creator has blessed me. I'm good. Everything's good. And first thing they're going to come out their mouth and say is, why didn't you call me? No. You don't need anybody beating you when you're down. It doesn't work that way. Why would you want this type of person in your life? And I know it's hard, because some of us that have family members deal with that. But sometimes you got to feed people with a long-handled spoon. Deal with them only when it's necessary. And I know it's hurtful to hear and all that. But you're the one that's got to live with yourself at the end of the day. You're the one that's got to carry yourself through the day. It's about you. So you got to be careful who you're dealing with. When you're desperate, don't be just calling and contacting and airing your grievances willy-nilly to people, because sometimes those people will take that information and use it against you. Don't assume just because they pick up the phone and listen to all that they're concerned. They may have very, very black and dark motives for listening to you. They're not listening to you out of a sense of care. So you got to be careful with that. Just saying.